안녕하세요. Hello everyone. I'm Korean Billy from Korea.
Merhaba, I'm Ceren from Turkey.
Bonjour, hello, I'm Ginny from France.
Alright, so welcome back again, and today again I am joined by Teren and Ginny. Today as well we've also picked two comments, right? You picked one and you picked the other one, right? Many people also joined for this event. Thank you very much for your participation. So, who is the first comment?
So the first comment from Glenn Tiando, and he just visited Seoul for his first international trip.
Oh.
And he was really excited, and he had really great time in Seoul, like getting the cold weather and getting lost and having the delicious food. But in the last day, he and his friend, they just missed the flight.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a disaster.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they asked for a discount, and the owner of the hostel, they gave them like 40% of discount.
Wow.
And they just paid that money, and then they just missed the flight and cried in the airport. And,
Oh.
yeah. But the owner of the hostel, he gave them some tangerines, and it's okay. He just scolded them first and then gave them discount.
Oh.
So that's why the Glenn remember like this event all the time, and really
yeah.
thankful for
Yeah.
his
That's such a memorable happening,
Yes.
memorable time. Yeah, so it would be like, nightmare. It would be a nightmare if you miss the flight.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like on the last day, you kind of get nervous because, like, Incheon Airport from Seoul is quite distant, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, do you think it's a bit like far from the city center?
Yeah, of course it's kind of far, but like you can get the bus or you can get the subway to the airport,
Yes.
but you have to check the time or
Right.
what is, like
Yeah.
that's the best way to not miss your flight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So can you remember how long it usually takes from Seoul to the airport?
Depending on where you are in Seoul, it's take 1 hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm, 1 hour and up to 2 hours, I
Yes.
guess. Yeah, there are, I think, many ways to go there. Like there's express train as well.
Yes.
There is an airport line for subway, and there is an
Yes.
express bus as well. But it definitely takes more than 1 hour.
Yeah.
So you
Yes.
should be prepared for that.
That's right.
And because of the pandemic, we need more time these
Yes.
days for queuing and everything. So I think we should arrive at the airport at least like 3 hours in advance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, to get the flight. So we should remember that. Could you give any like travel tips for those who want to travel in Seoul as well?
To always have your passport, your bag.
Passport,
Yeah, it's very important.
just in case you kind of get in trouble.
Yes.
Anything else?
Maybe getting downloaded these apps for your like finding your way, especially to airport or somewhere else.
Do you think like Korean transportation is usually like on time?
Exactly on time.
Yes. You shouldn't be late.
Yeah.
If you're late for 10 seconds, then the
Yes, it's the
subway
way.
is gone.
Yeah, I mean there are, also I feel that there are not many like delays for trains and
Yes.
subways and buses, right? So I think Korean transportation is usually on time,
Yeah.
which is quite convenient
Yeah, very convenient.
as well. And also like Glenn also got scolded by the owner, but got lots of help
Yeah.
from the owner. So that's very nice of the owner actually.
Yes.
And like we covered in the last episode, like Korean people are willing to help foreigners as well, and even give cure the tangerine to relieve them as well. That's quite cute as well. Yeah.
Korean people are so like lovely. If you are on something like in a bad
Struggling, yeah.
situation, they help you. Okay, that's okay. Just calm down.
Yes.
That's true.
I think that's because of the tongue, like the culture,
Yes.
Yeah.
caring, and like maybe we can tell like affection.
Yeah, affection,
affection.
consideration, right? So there is a like Korean word which is 정, and that is I think unique Korean culture among people in
that's
Korea. Like, for example, as you said, caring for people, and there's a kind of like affectionate bond between each other. So I think you can definitely feel that 정 culture in Korea when you visit Korea. Did you also feel that as well in
Yes.
Korea?
One time I was alone one hostel, and the owner, it was a ajuma, an old lady, and she gave me some fruits. I was alone.
Free food from the owner.
I was very touched at that
Yeah.
time because I was alone.
Oh, right. And sometimes when you go to like Korean like guest house, you also like have different experiences, right?
Yeah, of course. I have one too, like kind of similar, but I was alone and I was really down at that day. And the owner of the hostel, he just came up and asked for me, like, do you want to have some chicken and like beer with me? And I was just like, okay, let's eat together. And then it was really fun. Like we had so many talks and talking about Korean culture, like the situation about Korea, and like the K-pop and everything. And it was really
that's
kind
great.
of him, you know, like
Yeah.
not leaving alone me there.
Oh, so I guess kind of like Korean people are kind of shy and nervous among strangers, but they are also really like affectionate and caring for strangers as well, especially like in the accommodation as well. Foreign guests, the owner really look after them as well.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you feel any difference in that, like cultural difference in that context?
Well, I think Korean people and Turkish people are kind of similar because Turkish people are so into the like, especially ajummas and Turkish ajummas and ajushis. They're so like caring about their guests. So I think it's kind of the same with Korea and Turkey.
What about the difference between the French culture?
It's very different. Like
Yeah.
when I'm in Korea, ajuma and anjoshi, the old ladies and old guys, they feel like I'm their family, you know.
Oh,
like
right.
very like there is a bond
Yeah.
between us. It's very very touching, I think.
So in Korea, like once you have a chat, you become like a family members, and you have that kind of bond.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like a Jong culture
Yes.
in Korea. So people are really affectionate and caring for each other. So that is kind of like different, like community culture in Korea.
And even if it's in Seoul, in a big city, it's the same. It's incredible.
Right. So sometimes foreigners say like Seoul people kind of look a bit worried and anxious all the time because it's such a busy city. But when you really talk to them, they aren't, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are totally different from how they look in the reality. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Yes, they are very gentle, I think.
So do you also like notice that people
Yeah.
are so busy?
They're so busy and I really understand them like having this cold expression, but they are really kind if you get to know them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So would you say to the viewers like we can definitely talk to Korean strangers?
Yeah, I think they should try because Korean people are so nice. If you like go to first, like if you approach them first, then they just open their heart and help you all the time.
Yeah, I mean, people might get surprised at first, but they are willing to help
Yeah, yeah.
visitors as well. So go try talking to strangers as well. So that was the first comment. And what about the second comment?
Second comment is from Francine. She learned Korean for 3 years, but suddenly she arrived in Korea and in the subway she made a small mistake. Like she asked, where is Jongno? But instead she talked about where is Jonglo?
Jongro.
Because in Korean it's written Jonglo and
Right.
not Jongno. And so she makes this mistake and she feels very awkward in front of her friends. And yeah, after she reminds herself, I need to learn Korean even more than before.
So even though you learn Korean for a long time, you get confused by tricky Korean pronunciation. For example, 종로 is like, because 리을, there's Korean letter 리을, and sometimes it's written as like R, but pronounced like N sometimes. 종로 can be 종노, it's a bit different. So in reality, Korean pronunciation seem to change a lot. So like 종로, and also Francine mentioned like 왕십리 as well.
That was really difficult for me too. 왕심십리?
Because like letter by letter is 왕십리.
Yeah.
But when you put that together, 왕십리, so 리 changes into ni. And also like 한류 as well. Yeah.
The Korean way, 한류. 한류, but it
when you actually say that Hallyu, so it's even written like Hallyu in English, so that's a bit different. So sometimes like when you write down Korean names on Korean places in English, as it sounds like,
Yeah.
not as it is written, so it could kind of give more realistic understanding for foreigners, but it's still quite difficult and tricky, right? What would be kind of tricky when it comes to like Korean pronunciation?
For me, sometimes it's O and O. Kopi,
Ah, 코피,
the nose bleeding, and kopi.
코피 and
Coffee.
coffee. Coffee and
Totally
coffee is
different.
totally different. It's nosebleed and coffee. That's totally different. And also kapi as well.
Yeah.
Kapi. Kapi is like copying in English and Korean English.
Yeah, it's very different. You cannot go to the coffee and say, I want a kopi.
Ah,
It's really weird.
Ah,
커피 주세요.
yeah. So like when I say like I had coffee, that would be quite confusing
Yeah.
for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Which coffee is that? Coffee or coffee? And copy as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you have any difficult time like learning Korean pronunciation?
Yeah, it was really difficult for me to like write down the words for 마치다. So it means like end, and 마치다. So like getting correct, I guess.
Yeah, like
They nearly the same, like the same pronunciation, but when you write down, like it's different. So
like 문제를 마치다,
마치다,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, get the correct answer for a question. It could be like 마치다,
yeah,
but finishing and ending is 마치다, and it's almost the same pronunciation, 마치다. So that could be quite confusing. Yeah. And what else? What else?
고양이 and
고양이.
고향이.
고양이 and 고향이. 향 and 양.
고양이 어디에 있어요?
고양이 어디예요? But like, where is the cat? You kind of get that.
there's a cat.
So why do you talk about cat? But yeah, but it was about hometown. 고향 and 고양이.
And there is also another tricky things in Korean. Is the double consonant, like in tteokbokki.
떡볶이.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like double 기억, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a very strong sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some.
Sam. Sam is also different. So it's written as like double S,
Yeah.
Yes.
but it's kind of like a different.
Different sound, I guess. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
So like double consonants, or sometimes like double different consonants like 리을, 비읍, 리을, 기읍. Sometimes like 붉은, 따,
yeah.
넓다. So did you have to like go through all the Korean pronunciation classes?
For sure, yes.
Wow, how was it?
Very difficult.
Oh,
Especially the double consonant, because in French we don't have this kind of sound. For us, it sounds exactly the same.
Then how did you also like learn those differences in pronunciation?
I think I just studied through the Korean dramas and Korean like songs and maybe like YouTube.
So you just try to listen to Korean native speakers speaking Korean. Did you also try books as well?
Yeah, but not that much as like I watch and listen the native Korean speakers. Yeah.
Also, then what would you say the best way to learn Korean pronunciation then?
Yeah, K-drama. Watching a lot of videos, because if you learn from books, you cannot know the pronunciation very correctly. So class or K-drama will be good.
It would be most interesting to try K-dramas and Korean media stuff to learn Korean. And also there are great websites for learning Koreans as well, which are usually free. So go check them out as well. Alright, so we've been talking about interesting happenings and experiences from 2 comments. Thank you very much for your participation, and thanks for Glenn and Francine. So more events and more episodes are coming up, so we need your story and we want your story. So go check out the comment section and please tell us your story when you were in Seoul. And we're going to pick how many winners?
4 winners.
4 winners. So we're going to pick 4 winners. So please tell us your stories in Seoul. Leave the comment section and go check out more information in the Seoul page. And that's it from us, Korean Billy, Jaden and Ginny, and we're going to come back to you guys in the next episode. Thank you very much. 안녕.